go. We're ready to go now. My name is Heather Noggle, and I'm here to talk to you about the Missouri Cybersecurity Center of Excellence, and my silly title will come up eventually. You'll understand what that means. But for now, Missouri Cybersecurity Center of Excellence, we abbreviate that as MCCOE because it's slightly easier to say than the whole mouthful of Missouri Cybersecurity Center of Excellence. We are a 501c3 nonprofit corporation, and we have two pillars or two missions. One is securing our region in Missouri, the critical infrastructure, especially city, county government, and everyone else in the middle there, education. We have big healthcare where we are. The area in Missouri we are in, Springfield, Missouri is where we're based, is a metropolitan area of about 500,000 people. And around us is all rural. So beyond that 500,000 people, it's just counties that are rural. They're coming in to see us for their medical care because we're the third largest city in Missouri after St. Louis, Kansas City, not in that order. The other thing we do is to work to build the next generation of the cybersecurity workforce. And so we are training people who have some knowledge, experience, some self-training, or some education in cybersecurity, and we're helping to hone them so that they are career-ready interns, and that program is about a year. I'll talk to you a little bit more about that as we go through here. The other thing there, as we're working to secure critical infrastructure, we obviously have interest in everyone in the region, from people in their homes and also small businesses. So who am I and why am I standing here today? I'll see if I can hit all these points without looking at the slide. I am a lifelong technologist. I got one of those Commodore 64 things when I was a kid. My parents were not technical at all. They're like, well, let's buy this computer and entertain our only child. And there was no persistence at all. We didn't have a disk drive or anything with this thing, so I would sit there all day on Saturday and program things and look at whatever I could do with this thing, and then Saturday night would come along and parents would say, oh, we got to turn the thing off. So that was how things went. And I started out after college in a career in HR because at some point it just became too not cool to be nerdy. And I ended up going into a liberal arts degree and going into HR, and that was fun and good, but I would interview people all day long, and then that was just too much, too much peopling. And eventually, because of those, I had those tech skills, this was 95 or so, and I had taught myself some web development. I ended up doing a whole lot of database work and building HR systems in the HR department and then going and showing them off to everybody else. And so that's how my tech career got started. And I eventually got filched into another department in the revenue and doing an actual web developer job. So lifelong technologist, ended up in tech anyway, even though I kind of tried to run away from it. And most of my career was in software. So full software development life cycle, from coding all the way through. Most of it, the last 10 to 15 years, has been conversations with people to get the real requirements out of them after they've done the first round of saying these are what our software requirements are. So did that for a very long time. I became a cybersecurity advocate is the best term for it when I realized that it's not just all the tech stuff, but it's also much of what we need to do within the businesses we own and the people we know who own businesses to secure the enterprise as a whole, which is the human layer as well. So I do a lot of writing about this. It's a big passion of mine. And I've been upskilling in cybersecurity after that software career for the last 3 years or so. And I do a lot of writing. A few of you I've met over the past couple days at this conference may know that. I know my friend Zach here in the front row knows that pretty well. And so you'll see me writing on LinkedIn if you're interested in it. It's usually somewhat silly, but bringing the point across of what we need to be doing as human beings in cybersecurity. And the first thing, of course, is notice that we need it. Okay. The last thing here, again, I'm pretty sure that I was a black cat in another life, even though I don't believe in such things. So just a little bit about me. What we're doing here with training with the Missouri Cybersecurity Center of Excellence is we are building this next generation of the workforce. This is a new program. We got our building in April of this year. It was later than we expected to be, and I'll talk about more of that when we get to the swimming section. Got the building in April. It was funded by a grant for $1.6 million from the state of Missouri. So when the founders of this organization got that going, they got the grant almost immediately. It's really exciting. The building was late, but we got it in April. By May, early May, we had it built out as a 10-desk SOC. So it's everything you would expect a SOC to be, and it's there for training purposes and also to do that work of securing the region, providing EDR and SIM and all the corresponding services with a co-managed SOC approach. We have cybersecurity practitioners who are volunteers with the organization, including the people who founded it. And then we are working to build additional cybersecurity practitioners by working with the students, with the practitioners who are on staff. And then the influence, as we become a more mature organization, we're hoping to then be able to take our program to people who are more junior. Maybe they haven't done their networking or the work toward A+ and working with computers yet. We can build a separate program there and then feed into the cybersecurity program I'm going to tell you more about. And then more vision on this to work backwards through K through 12 so that eventually we land talking to 3rd to 5th graders and they understand that there's this thing called cybersecurity and what computers are and how they fit beyond, okay, you've used a Chromebook and you've used a device. So that's going to be a few years in the making, but that's the mission here. And I even have this silly idea that we ought to rent out a billboard and one of those changing messages every day and get people around who are driving by us to be thinking about cybersecurity at least a little bit. Okay, so we have these interns. They've come from everywhere. I'll talk a little bit more about them. We started 17 of them in September. Talk a little more about that as well. And then we have several volunteers from industry who will volunteer anywhere from 2 to 5 hours a week in manning our SOC at night so that when students are coming in, then it's not our day staff who are there doing that. And this is a year-long program with the goal of getting our interns to have their Security Plus, be ready to take that. We're looking also at the Google cert that's somewhat equivalent to see if we can teach that superset of skills. And then also be career ready. So not only understand the knowledge to do the work, but also understand that the certifications that they've taken, how that fits, how to talk to upper management, how to interrelate, and to have the full set of skills of, okay, we've learned these technical bits here, what does all of this mean? And I'll talk a little bit more about that. They'll have opportunity to work on assessments. We're hoping to serve our city and county governments around in our region, which is Region D in Missouri. We put in a grant to do exactly that, so we would be available at no cost to these regions, and our lovely state of Missouri said, let's do ransomware training for everybody instead. So that didn't happen yet. We're going to go for that again and hope to raise some awareness there because so many of these small cities around, I talk about the rural area in our region, they may have 1 or 2 IT people. Those people are responsible for cameras. They're responsible for every small thing you can think of when there's a 1 to 2 person shop covering all of information technology and, oh, by the way, do this cybersecurity thing as well. And so they don't even know what to ask for if they would have put in a grant of their own to do proper cyber hygiene and build everything up the way that it needs to be. We're hoping to help with that, to give them the assessment and the guidance so that we can secure our region that way. So the other piece of this, I'm talking about working in the SOC and doing some assessment work alongside practitioners. The other piece of this is for some of the interns who are ready to do some pen testing. We have on staff a Drury University cyber defense and offense teacher, and so he is one of the founders of the Missouri Cybersecurity Center of Excellence, and select students will be able to do that. Of course, we will not just say, here's Cobalt Strike, go play with that. It will be completely guided and everything going through there. And I'm talking about in the future tense because, again, we just started in April, built the building in May, and onboarded interns. So I'll talk to you a little bit about that. Because core services I just talked about, the EDR, the SIM, all the things we do in the SOC. All right, I even talked a little bit about the funding. What happened here with the grant is we put in for several more, and this one was awarded so easily, surely the rest will be easy as well. And what we found is that is not the case per se. So we have the grant that built the SOC, which was a $1.6 million SOC. And it covers our rent payments as well for about the next year. And we do have some donations that come in from private individuals. We're still seeking a major donor from our region or even nationally. I'd be perfectly happy if one of the national cybersecurity companies were to say, yes, Missouri Cybersecurity Center of Excellence, we would love to fund you. We haven't gotten there yet. And then we're doing some business development as well. And the business development aspect is a few cities and counties who have a relationship with us already, including the city where we live, which is Springfield, Missouri. We do some pen testing for them. And then we have about 6 clients on the EDR in the SOC right now. And so not a whole lot there in the services. We have a lot in the pipeline. Strangely, a lot of banks seem to want us to do pen testing. So we'll take it, but it will be next year. So here's the point where we're going to get to services. I'll show you that first. So Wes and Shannon are the 2 people who started this nonprofit. And it was about 2019, which is another one of these challenges. Because in 2019, the world was still moving and shaking and hopping and great things were happening, and that's when we got this grant. And then COVID happened. And with COVID, a lot of the promises or thoughts that we had in terms of some funding, one of the major software development companies in town was going to give us $50,000 a year to get it launched and going. And with COVID, that all evaporated. So here we have this grant to build this SOC, and we have not a whole lot else after that. What we did when I came on board in early 2023 is I took a look at what Wes and Shannon had done, and it looked very government-ese, right out of the 90s with Times New Roman font and really hard to read. And I'm looking right at you, Zach, because I know your marketing background. So we came in and I said, let's make these services so that people who don't have your level of technical skill can actually understand what we do here. And so that was some of my early work in 2023 with Missouri Cybersecurity Center of Excellence are these things that you see here right now. And they're just talking through what we do to serve the region, what we do in the assessments, what we do in the pen testing, etc. So what is with this crazy title? I've alluded to it a lot with what we're doing and where we're going, but it goes a little bit like this. And I'll just read this one because it was fun to put together. 2019, all this vision, nonprofit, the grant we got, COVID, wait, the building, 9 months late, all this promise and more wait. And then we get the building. So I better tell that fully as a story going back to the beginning a little bit. 2019, it's an Osaka meeting. Wes meets Shannon. Shannon is a man. They have this grand vision. They put together that 501c3 and they get the funding and the grant. And then COVID, so now we're halfway through here. I met them in 2023. I was stepping out of a SaaS business I was a part of for 22 years and own part of. And I was wondering what was next for me. I'd been studying cybersecurity fundamentals for the last couple of years, making that pivot, that transition out of software. And I'm the vice chair of our Springfield Tech Council where I am. And so I was a natural when the Missouri Cybersecurity Center of Excellence was looking like it was going to get its building. Then that's when I was introduced to Wes and to Shannon. I came in, I did the things I showed you, and we started to talk about all this grand vision. And we talked about that assessment grant that we put in and how we hoped that was going to be a thing, and we were pretty sure we were going to get that. And oh, by the way, we're going to get this building any day now. So I tell my students at the community college all about this Missouri Cybersecurity Center of Excellence. And again, this is January, February of 2023. And we're going to have that in the fall. Well, with the building being late, it's almost like you see the restaurants and they have these coming soon and you're like, oh great, there's this new barbecue place and I'm going to go there and I'm really excited that I'm going to get to do this barbecue in a month, and then it just sits there like that for 10 months. So we had all this traction coming in, including with the students. I was teaching A+ Core 2 at the community college, and then nothing happened for quite some time. So I was volunteering on the steering committee with this organization after we decided, yes, this is a really good thing. We had this giant plan for 12 full-time employees eventually. So the idea of crawl, walk, run, because Wes is retired military and then has a career with a company that does consulting for the government, federal government out of DC. So everything is extremely militaryese and always never straight, always forward, or the other way around, always forward, never straight. And the other thing, of course, is this crawl, walk, run. And we had it. We have it all mapped out. This is where we are in this crawl stage. We get the building. We're going to start walking. People are going to start donating. We're going to get all these interns, and we're going to run this program. And most of that happened. Okay? So, this swimming. Here it is in the visual and one of my black cats. April 2024, we've talked about this. We took the SOC, built it all out with volunteers, May 2024. 10 desks, all the computers, the full SOC, the 4 monitors up in the front, the news feeds on the left and on the right. And then we started looking for interns, and knowing that things were going not quite 100%, and I'll tell you why in a minute, then we figured we might get a few interns to start with. And what happened is we ended up with 17, which is more than we thought we would have. But there's so much interest in building a cybersecurity career. And we were talking with these interns, being very transparent here. We are a nonprofit. We have a good program. We are ready to go, but we are building this plane while we are flying it, and we have no funding, essentially. So we have this one-year program. I just gave it away. We have no funding. We have this one-year program in place. This is what we're going to do for you. At the end of that, here are the other things. And they are all, okay, internship. So we started walking by getting these interns. But I like to say that we're infants, and when my oldest son started walking, he wasn't able to stand yet. He would crawl to the wall, pull himself up, and start going. You know, we were kind of like that. We started walking, but somehow we were walking on a pier and on a dock, and we fell in, and now we're swimming. So there's no swim stage in crawl, walk, run, but we're swimming. And black cats just really don't like swimming. Our intern cost, we figure, is about $15,000 per intern. This core set of interns, I'm going to go through some demographics about who they are and what they are, will not be quite that expensive because a lot of them already have their Security Plus. They are that hungry for the work experience so that employers take them seriously. And so that's helpful. We don't have some of the test materials that we'll have to put forth for most of them. So let me tell you a little bit about our interns. In the area in Springfield, Missouri, we have 5 colleges and universities. One of those is a community college, and one of those universities is about an hour away, but the other 3 are congregated very close together. I'll just list them really quick. Missouri State University, Southwest Baptist, which is an hour away, Evangel University, Drury University, and Ozarks Technical Community College. If you go about another hour away to Joplin, you can pick up Missouri Southern, so they're technically in our area, and their faculty, they're very interested in what we're doing as well. As a nonprofit, we figure, hey, great, we don't have to affiliate with any one of these universities and work exclusively with them. We can work with all of them. And that's really forward thinking, and that is part of what has enabled us to get these interns and reach out and work with them, and I went too quickly there. So the demographics for our early interns I'll get to in a minute, but I'm going to show you a little bit about our training journey map. This is a little bit dated, but it's what we're starting with because put it together in 2019 in the early stages of building this out as a here's how it's going to operate. Starting with the cyber essentials and just a review of some basic things going into operating systems, and we've got some networking review in there as well, all the way on down through these different modules, including programming and cryptography, and all the things having to do with red teaming, and then focusing in on SOC operations, and then actually having our interns doing the work, ticketing, handoffs, and all those things in our SOC. And at the end of that, you see there, and if it's pretty small, you see their leadership and communication. Well, we're building that throughout to help making sure that an intern who might need a little bit of extra help there in either writing or speaking or both, that we can identify that and do that extra bit of work since that's so necessary. I wrote a piece the other day about pen testing. Great, everybody wants to be a pen tester. Oh wait, that job's all writing. Okay, let's talk about writing. Let's do these things here. And then ending with industry certifications. You also see on there that it talks about building tier 1 or tier 2 analysts, and then for a while we'll take tier 3 and have our, interesting, we'll have our SOC co-managed partner handle tier 3 if we need to escalate to that. We also, Wes and Shannon, have top secret clearances, and we are in a building that is set up for secure work. A floor above us, there is Brewer Science, and they're building semiconductors. So we are perfectly poised to do this when the contract that's affiliated with that comes to where we have enough people on it. Then we can take our interns who have no DUIs and are US born, and we'd probably be able to get them secret clearances, which should also help set them apart. Okay? So back to the interns. So I've been talking about them. You'll see demographically, we have, of the 17, we had 18, one had to drop out, and we'll probably come back the next time we open up for more interns. But 8 of them are in their 20s, 4 of them are in their 30s, and 4 in their 40s. One, I don't know his age, but I'm going to guess he's in his 20s. So we're all over the place here on the intern age. Many of them are from the community college I taught. I actually have 2 of my former students now at MCCOE as interns, and a woman who worked with me as a lab assistant there is now our training coordinator part-time. 25% female, that's pretty standard across the board. We haven't done any recruiting for these interns, by the way. And then one of them has secret clearance already. He's retired, I guess, retired after 4 years. He did his 4 years of service with the U.S. Army and still has his clearance. Many of these interns do already have their Security Plus. Over half of them do. Many of them, the ones from the community college who are graduates, are coming also with A Plus and Linux Plus. And I understand that curriculum at the community college is adding Pen Test Plus this year. And many of these, even those in their 20s or in their late 20s, and they've tried another career and they've come in and are doing this second career. A couple, I don't have it on here which universities or colleges that they come from, but I think we have 1 from Evangel, 1 from Missouri State University, 1 from Drury, and 3 from Western Governors. So we're helping to add some flavor to the Western Governors curriculum as well. So vendors and partnerships, again, no money, so we're making this work. We have 2 SIMs right now. We have ConnectWise's Perch, and running alongside that, we are working with SentinelOne there. And that's where our actual clientele, that's the operations we're doing today. Act Zero came to us, and they liked us so much because they have a Springfield presence. They said, let's use our SIM too. And hey, it's great. We'll train students on 2 SIMs. We'll put some dummy data in the second one until we figure out what we want to do with that. And then that comes with CrowdStrike Falcon. We're using Astendio to track assessment work, and it's the same scenario. They really wanted us to use their tools, so they gave it to us, and we're taking a look at that. Palo Alto Firewall, unfortunately, they did not donate that. And then we have partnerships with a couple of organizations who did everything differently than we did, and they have piles of money. So let me talk a little bit about those. Enterprise KC is in Kansas City, and believe they have an $8 million grant. And only part of what they do is cybersecurity. They've also got a data science arm and then a more workforce specific arm, workforce of the future, cybersecurity being a part of that. We went and saw them a couple weeks ago on a Monday, the 16th, I think, of September. Drove up there and talked with them, and they're really excited. They gave us a cyber range. Hey, that's nice. That's great. They built it. We're going to help use our interns to validate it, find all their spelling errors, help them correct those. And then we drove back, and it's like, they're doing really good things here. They were shocked we could just manifest interns out of the air. The reason we can do that, though, is because we are a nonprofit, not affiliated with a university. We're actively seeking people who are gaining skill in other ways. And so that's where a lot of these interns are coming from. Same day, we get back after our long KC trip, and we're on the phone with affiliation with University of Tulsa. They don't have $8 million. They have 24. So they go with just the University of Tulsa and then a private funding match. So in a single day, we talked to people who had $30 million, and we're running an operating budget of about $20,000. Okay. The last one on here, we are also talking with, I jumped into the next slide a little bit, trying to find a way to work with CIS. CIS likes us. They like talking to us. I did some serious volunteer work on the CIS controls group through PAX 8. So they know who we are. We've been talking with several different people and trying to figure out how to make that happen. We'd have to go through one of the universities to do so because they don't tend to work with other nonprofits. So that's been another interesting monkey wrench there. Nobody's doing anything wrong. They've not found a way to help us yet. And then Channel Pro Network, which is not an MSP magazine, they did a lovely write-up about us, and we built a relationship there. And so our interns are actually doing some work in product review, I guess, and then doing write-ups there. And so we have 2 of those done. And now that we have a flavor for how they do these, we'll be able to work with intern teams, and they'll get their own byline, and so will Missouri Cybersecurity Center of Excellence. It's a really good thing. So I talked about Enterprise KC and Tulsa. They have the differing challenges is that the programs, when you have that much money, you try to go broader, whereas we are nimble, agile, and poor. So we're going narrow and succeeding in that way and trying to find the right people to get that funding to get us out of the swim stage and back into the walk. And that is the challenge of every nonprofit. The people that you serve are different than the people who give you money. And so that can be a very difficult line to walk. The nonprofit world, we all agree, from being entrepreneurial business owners amongst the MCCOE steering committee and our small staff, that it would have been much easier to do this as a for-profit company. Much easier. Because then there's an exit of some sort. There's a way to gain funding. There's a way to work with enterprise a little more easily, and you go to these conferences or other conferences, it's easier to network, and you're not just asking for a handout, you're providing some value there as well to the people who are funding you. So funding, and funding are our challenges. Everything else is pretty ready to go. So this is the road ahead, assuming we get the funding. We have, again, ideas for 12 staff members. Someone doing full-time business development, because we really haven't done any of that yet. The work that we have in the pipeline has come to us through partners and some of these tours we're giving. We've given tours to all the local MSPs, and we've said, we are not your competitors. We are here as a resource for you. And when work comes to us that we don't do, such as MSP things, we can farm that out to you, and that's worked out well with at least one of the local MSPs that we've referred some work to. We want to do some very serious, robust workforce development, and that will require staff. I have some relationships with our area companies. We have O'Reilly Auto Parts. They're headquartered in Springfield, Missouri. Bass Pro is headquartered in Springfield, Missouri, so large presences there. Major medical community, and so that's going to take time and effort to build those relationships to a strength where not only does our program vetted and venerated, but they'll want to work with us to help give them their next set of cybersecurity staff, which is of course not an entry-level field, and then they count the 1 year with us as a year of experience. Those 12 people also include a SOC manager, an executive director, which is a role I'm filling right now, and people who work full-time in the SOC and can support the students that way. And then there are probably 2 or 3 jobs that I just don't remember from our list of what we have planned out, because at this juncture they're just not that important, but they will be when we're fully operating. So we are planning to take that co-managed SOC and turn it into a 24/7/365 SOC. That will take time and effort, and we'll have to have those full-time staff. We have an affiliation with an organization in Hawaii that can probably take that overnight, and we do a follow the sun approach. And so we won't have just our analysts doing that 24/7, so we won't have to have, per se, an overnight shift. We're not sure yet. We're in discussion on those things. But that big thing I keep wanting to go back to are those assessments for local government, because there's such a deep need for that. And finding a way to pay for that, we think they're hungry, if they know about us, to have these assessments done. We know of some of the larger municipalities that definitely are, and we're starting to work with them. But again, it's as we have time. Most of our staff is volunteer. I am extremely lightly paid. If you've seen The Wedding Singer, I'm pretty much paid in meatballs. This is a passion project, but we need to be able to put that funding into place. So again, we go from swim into walk, and in to run. Finally, we do a lot of conversations. I've done a lot of conversations with Rotary clubs and other civic organizations where we come in and we have the cyber hygiene discussion where everybody leaves and their eyeballs are like this after we've been talking about all these invisible but not imaginary threats. So I do that as one of the things in this role. And we need to do more of that as well, just making everyone aware that there are some very small things they can do that matter, and help frame the idea that you don't go in cold and start talking about assessment and what that's going to do for you. You start talking about what you can do until we can get to the assessment to tell you what you need to do very specifically for your organization. And then K through 12 school districts. This is one of my big passions. I've probably already talked about this in here because I talk about it so frequently. Right now in Missouri, unless you're in one of the bigger school districts, what we are finding is that by the time you graduate high school, yeah, they give you a Chromebook. You got to use your Chromebook and you've got your phone, but beyond the Google and the way of doing things on your little Google computer, there's not a whole lot of programming. You aren't playing with computers or networks, and there aren't necessarily very formal programs for you to learn to do these things and understand just basically how to be safe using a computer in the year 2024 and beyond. So Missouri has adopted the Project Lead the Way curriculum in some of the bigger schools. We have a son who's doing the engineering program that way, so they will get exposure to some of that. But in some of the advisory boards that I sit on, the teachers who are teaching that curriculum don't necessarily fully understand it. So it's not so much with the engineering, but when we talk with the former gym teachers or former business teachers who are now doing the cybersecurity and the programming tracks, they've got some upskilling to do there. So there's impact to be made there as well. And then any tech people in the room? I promise there's another slide. I'll just go without the thing. Then the idea is to fly. Because if we want to go from always forward, never straight, into crawl, walk, swim, back to walk, and run, what fly looks like are those 12 people doing what they need to do, 60 interns at a time on shifts because we can't accommodate all 60 people. There is another half of the space still available that we're hoping we can get the program up and going well enough, soon enough, that we can build out that half of the space. Some of that is administrative offices to continue to do what we need to do with this program. The rest of that expanding into classrooms. And then, after this program is fully mature, and we've gone through that curriculum we're building, and we've honed it 5, 6, 7 iterations, and we can turn around and we can say, hey, we're the Missouri Cybersecurity Center of Excellence. Hey, Wichita, I heard you were trying to do something like this. Here's our program in a box, and hand it over. And that's what we're looking at as the fly stage. So the rest of this, I'm hopeful, is conversation between us. I left intentionally quite a bit of time for that. And on the next slide with my contact info, I'm going to see if I can pull that up and have that for you. It's just not happening. So you'll have to stop me after we talk now, and I'd love to give you my card and where we can talk a little bit more if you have any ideas for us to manifest money out of rocks or turnips or the people doing the concessions or anything. We have some funny and interesting ways we ask for money, but money, prayers, thoughts, programming ideas, all of it's open. My name is Heather Noggle, and I'm interested for your questions, and if you won't ask me any, I'll ask you also. That's the way it goes. So, thank you. Yes? Yeah, I don't know. I'm on 2 different advisory boards. One of them is very high level. It's a lot of superintendents, and they're looking at building practical education without losing classical education and trying to water ski over those 2 things and what that's going to look like for the future. And so I would say that for them, yes, there's a definite understanding that we need to secure the technology, and the technology runs everything. When I talk to just the Springfield School Board, Springfield is actually the largest school district because it's a single school district. If you go to St. Louis or Kansas City, you have multiple. So strangely, it's the largest school district in the state, and they just want to show off what they're doing. They don't really want our advice. They want to, I've been to one of those. I've got the next one coming up later this month. But they are more advanced than these rural school districts. So I don't know what the rural ones want. I do know what they need. So. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna guess that's gonna vary by district. Yeah. So what town are you in? I'll have to look that up. Yeah. Are you close enough that you could come volunteer with us? Okay, so you could come give a talk once a year. Okay. See? Yeah, we didn't have B-sides last year. We had it the year before. Okay. Anyway, questions? Yes. I think you're giving me a charge to go learn that because I don't yet know. So Illinois and Iowa, other organizations somewhat like us, preferably more mature than us. I'll see what we can find out. I'm scheduled to talk with Shadrach from CISA, and so I will ask since he will probably have that answer at least for Iowa. Okay. Anybody else? So parents, what's your biggest challenge with your kids in cybersecurity? Good luck with that. So I'll tell you a story of, I don't know if it's addiction, but what tech can do. So my husband Brian is here with me. We have an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old. And so 18-year-old's pretty responsible. I felt comfortable. We felt comfortable. We could go ahead and come to this conference together. What could go wrong? And the 16-year-old had a cross-country meet this morning. He had to be up and be at the school at 5:30, and we're pretty sure he was up playing Minecraft all night without mom and dad saying, go to bed, get your track uniform ready, do this, do that, and he missed the bus. So we feel you. Yeah, and we've now publicly shamed him, so, because I understand this is being recorded. So I'm going to make sure he gets to see this, that mom is not happy, dad is not happy. It is a hard line there. I remember one time the same kid, probably 3-4 years ago, came to me sheepishly with a computer and, oh, okay, what's up, kid? Well, this is on the computer and I didn't install it. Okay, what'd you download? Yeah, okay, what do you do first? I don't know, what do I do first? You take it offline. Let's look at it. Let's go see what you got. Let's go ahead and go over to this other computer and research what'd you download, what'd you do. And so some of those are, if your network is where it needs to be at home, can be pretty good teaching lessons, of course, but that's not how we want to teach our kids. Yeah. I'm sorry, I have no advice for you other than I feel you. Hello. Other questions? Well, that last one came from me. So what do you think that a student should know coming out, graduating from high school as a tech practitioner? What do you think our next generation of students should know at a bare minimum about computers and how to operate and secure them?
I would say something
Okay.
that type of thing.
Okay. So cyber hygiene things?
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily like that, but I think we should do everybody, but I think everybody can learn how to understand. I think it's a matter of being used in terms of creating junk accounts, something else.
Okay. Do you think they ought to learn some basic networking?
Is this anybody expected to go into? Is this everybody?
When we look across, we're always the network administrators of our own homes. Somebody is, even if there's not a technical person in the home. So I waffle on this one too because, okay.
Just the opportunity.
There is a lot to learn. All right. Sometimes when I'm doing a presentation on cyber hygiene, I will put two pictures of me next to each other, and I'll put zeros and ones over one of them, and I'll say the one that's digital, you have to verify first. They used to say, trust and then verify, and you can't do that in modern age. You have to verify and then trust. So I agree, 100%. Hi. Do you have any questions for me? All right, go. We were just in conversation now, so I've been asking questions to the audience because I think I still have a couple minutes. Yeah, I do. I'm pretty short. Mm-hmm.
So one of the things, sometimes we talk about in the past, I think outside of class, the section about troubleshooting, that seems to be a throwaway section. Yeah, it's a troubleshoot. It's nice at the fact that whatever makes the I think basic troubleshooting, that I think is kind of overrated. So you mentioned how that works.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody just needs something, how to troubleshoot something that is broken, how to get it fixed, how to get it fixed, and then the ability to push through low levels of frustration.
Yeah, and then that's kind of grit, isn't it? That's one of those big things we're looking to teach is curiosity and grit solve a lot of problems. Yeah. I like that. The order of operations of things. Another thing I like to see in skills that we might not teach is when to ask for help. Because some of the people who work for me, they'll just put their heads down and try to smash on through it. Where at some point, okay, I've been on this for 2 hours, and all those skills that you've been looking at, I could have gone and asked my colleague for a sanity check, and maybe that person would have given me the next right step, which could have gotten my resolution much faster. Person didn't have to give up very much of his or her time, but boom, that collaboration gets there. So I like that too. Yeah, we come from that era as well. I remember many times when I couldn't solve something, and long before Stack Overflow, and we would go to Borders and surreptitiously and look in the books, before it was all online. And you did have to just pull it out of whatever you could find and conversations. And now you can upskill and you can train, but it's also just so much information that without a program helping you know, okay, here's where I'm going to focus the next year of my life, it can be very hard to determine, okay, I want to get into cybersecurity, what do I have to learn first? And then what do I learn next? And what are employers going to care about? And another thing we're finding, just the third time I'm alluding to cybersecurity not being an entry-level field, is I don't ever see entry-level jobs. There are very few companies that truly put them out there as entry-level jobs. And so everybody wants those 3 to 5 years of experience, and a lot of these, I was talking with someone yesterday, a lot of these job descriptions are not, engineers are not consulting on them, and so you'll see 2 years experience and we want a CISSP. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We dispel that notion during that first interview of it is not easy to get your first job. It may not be in cybersecurity. You may upskill, you may have 4 or 5 certs, but this program should help you with some of that work experience. You may start in IT, you might be working help desk a couple of years, and the knowledge you have working help desk will translate very nicely to when you make that move to cybersecurity. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I got mine from the programming angle and just what I was talking about, having to figure things out when I didn't know what I was doing per se. And I don't know. It's good. I agree that, you know, I'm going to talk a little bit, I'll brag on our 2-year college. They're very, very practical. They have a PC repair clinic, and most of the interns in the cybersecurity program and in the pure IT program will spend some time working there. And so when they come to us, they've got that knowledge of, okay, this is how this works. And they serve the community pretty nicely, a lot of small businesses and homes at prices that are better than going elsewhere, essentially. So bragging on them, you can graduate now with 4 certs. If you're willing to put in 2 years the time, the effort, and the hard work, and they can do that. And Missouri has this great program. And I don't know if other states do this, but if you show up during high school and you have a 2.5 and a little bit of volunteerism, they'll pay your way through community college. We have a kid doing that now. So it's a pretty good deal. You can go into community college, you can walk out at 19, 20 years old with an IT degree, 2-year, or a cybersecurity degree, 2-year, and then as long as you're on the right path, somebody to guide you, again, like you're saying with the expectations, you're not going to walk out at 19 with a 6-figure job. Yeah. And also, you're unlikely to get your first job directly in cybersecurity without some help. Somebody like our organization and that additional training, or just maybe knowing somebody or putting in some volunteer time, what have you. Got to stand out from everybody else. All right. Other questions? Yeah, I'm about out of time. I knew it would work that way.